17 Rocky Mountain Blizzard -20. Quick review of this bike. I reviewed a -10 2016 on the other channel. I didn't like it a lot, but this bike has a lot of improvements over that. You can see that Rocky's been trying to figure out the middle ground for their models. I read that they basically sold, a lot of the companies went through the fat bike craze and sold as many as they could. So now they're down to the nitty gritty, and they've been offering these really awesome value models in aluminum, which are really good, come with good spec. The -20 is a perfect example of this. What's good about this bike? What's bad about this bike? Well, Rocky does a really bad job on their website of showing how this frame looks. It looks really basic on the website. They have a couple of different frames. This one has 190 millimeter rear spacing, 135 front. It's actually got these spacers on it though, so I think it's 150, this fork. So you can fit a 4.8 on there, which has room to spare, right? You wouldn't want it too much bigger, but these Minions are definitely 4.8. The big tires are good. I rode some 3.8s and 4s in the snow this year. It's definitely more confidence in the 4.8. They're not much slower, if any. So it's definitely worth getting the wider geometry bike. It has a 1 1/8 straight steer tube instead of a tapered, but you can buy forks, suspension forks for that now, I think, RST Renegade. So the bike comes with Rocky's house components, this wheel set. What's so awesome about this wheel set? So you get a Sunringle rear hub, which is a name brand, and Rocky's own wheels, but these are rad. They're 95 millimeter wide, super wide. So you get this super wide footprint support for the tire, which works really well. You may say to me, "Oh, Alex, it must be the heaviest wheel set ever," and you are right. I weighed that rear hub with the cassette, and with this thing with studs in it, it weighed 4,400 grams. Yeah, that's right, 9 pounds. However, you wouldn't really know it on the trail. This thing is excellent. This bike is pretty slack, so it's got a 67-degree head tube and I think a 73 seat tube. It climbs really well. It's got an 1136 cassette 24 tooth chainring, which seems really low, but I definitely would like more. These real tall tires, I think they're like 29-inch, by the time you get to the top. For the steep climbs that we have here in the Rockies, it's not quite enough. Plan to get a bigger cassette. But anyway, it's pretty good for most people. 10-speed, really all you need. Shimano Shadow rear derailleur, which is really nice to have. It works really well. And that Shadow clutch keeps the thing from bouncing with the rear tire bounces, but it doesn't bounce that much. The slack head tube is really good for descents. I've done some pretty aggressive descents on this thing with no suspension, and it works pretty well. I changed the bars, the seat, all the stuff you would change normally to suit myself. I didn't really like the stuff it came with. It also came with these Shimano hydraulics that had organic pads, and these rotors say organic only. They're like soft metal. I didn't feel they had the right amount of braking power that I wanted, so I switched to these old Elixirs I have with good pads. I'm sure if you put good pads on those Shimanos, it would be all you need. Shimano makes excellent brakes. These Elixirs work pretty well. 180 mil rotors, what you want? The big piece that's great with this bike are these Maxxis Minion tires. They've been trying to make fat bike tires that work well for a long time. Rolling resistance, you don't want it to auto steer when you lean over. And Maxxis brought out their Minion. They're super famous bike. I use the Minions on my bike. They're amazing. I've tried a million tires, and the Minions are the best. These things are great. Look at how big those lugs are, right? This will be the slowest tire I ever say. Alex, I'm going to die. I'm going to die when I get to the top. Not so, my friend. The rounded profile means that when you're rolling, you're pretty much just on these continuous center knobs. So you're just rolling on this. The resistance is not bad at all. It's amazing, considering how well they roll for how crazy these tires are. There's no steer when you lean over. They have outrageous grip. They have so much grip. It is hilarious riding this thing. I thought this would be, these tires are excellent in the snow. As good as any dedicated, expensive 45 North snow tires that my friends were riding. I had some studs in the little pockets. These things were great. They're only 60 TPI, but I've been riding this bike a lot in the summer, and it is just the funnest thing. The grip you get from these things is outrageous. The things you can do with this bike is outrageous. If this thing had a suspension fork on the front, do you need another bike? I don't know, man. I love dual suspension, but this thing is rad. Yeah, the tires are expensive. And getting a good pair of tires when you buy a budget fat bike, so pretty expensive. I guess bikes retails for about 1,400 Canadian. It's pretty reasonable for what you get. But getting good tires is really important, and these tires are excellent. I've ridden a bunch of tires. These things are the biznatch. Overall, this thing is great in the snow. Really good. I love the geometry of it. This is a large. It's got a longer top tube, which is the newer trend in these bikes. It fits me really well. It's just a great value for money. And this bike, short chain stays, long top tube, slack, this thing works. I thought there's no way I could ride this. It'd be too rough. Holy somebody, chain sign. I thought this thing would be too rough in the summer, but it's been great. It's been such a fun trail bike if it's not too rough. If it's really rooty, it hurts. But this thing is totally awesome. The spec on this is great. Rocky putting the super wide wheels on is really cool. The drivetrain is really good for the money. The geometry of the bike as well. It's made well. It's got no-name cranks, but they seem fine. And these tires are the best. They actually make an FBR for the rear, which is more of a diggy tire, but I don't think it needs it. I think that's why Rocky put 2 FPFs on it, because it rolls really well and has enough traction for anything. Yeah, 4.8 Minion's got enough traction for anything. God damn, everyone loves their two-stroke. Anyways, this bike is a superb value for money. I've ridden lots of other bikes in this range. You put a suspension fork on this, do you need another bike? The confidence you have on a fat bike over like wet roots and stuff, side to side, it's incredible. And then you run into a big mud pile or something, this thing's unstoppable. These bikes are incredible. Once those wheel sets get up to speed too and you're going downhill, nothing will stop it. It carries so much momentum. You don't need to pedal, you stand on it, got the dropper down, right? And just use these massive tires to clear everything. And you think, oh my God, it's the slowest steering tire thing ever. It actually is fairly nimble. I've got shorter bars on it. It's just a really excellent bike. I can't believe how good fat bikes have become. This thing's fantastic. I end up riding all the time, even though it's the summer, even though I have a big dual suspension bike. I'm about to go ride it now. Hope you found this useful. I think the minus 10, maybe I was a little hard on it with a few of these upgrades. It's just those Kendas on it were terrible. They had self-steer, they weren't good tires. But in the snow, that guy had good luck with it. But this thing is the biznatch. Hope you didn't get too distracted by Mr. Two-Stroke. He's so excited. I'm a man! And found this useful. Have a nice day.